Welcome to the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau Advisory Committee meeting. We do have a short agenda this morning to discuss our, good morning, welcome, to discuss our reduction regulations that we are exposing a draft of to get some public comments on before we file it formally with the Office of Administrative Law. So welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and do a roll call. Let's see. Sorry about that. We'll start with who I can see already. So Jolena Grande
Present.
is here. Present. Ms. Jasmine Barrios.
Good morning and present.
Good morning. Eloise Kemp.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Reverend Jason Bensing. Good morning. And Mr. Kurt Giles. How do I say that? And then it looks like we're just missing Maggie. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. So thank you everybody for being here. This is going to be a little bit more of a casual discussion meeting. I'm really hoping for a lot of input and feedback on these draft regulations. We will open it up for public comment after we have a committee member discussion. And but I'm going to share my screen and we'll kind of go down the regs itself. But first, let's move on to agenda item 2 for public comment on items not on the agenda. And if anyone has any public comment, moderators, feel free to open it up.
All right, this is the moderator for members of the public on WebEx. If you would like to make a public comment for items not on the agenda, please click that raise hand icon. Or if you're an audio only participant, you can press *3 on your device. While we wait for members of the public on WebEx, I just want to confirm if there's any public in the El Dorado room today.
There is one public in the El Dorado room. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Braden Cohen, CEO of LightSource and Executive Director of the Natural Organic Reduction Association.
Yes. So if you have any public comment, just be sure to let me know so we can make sure that it's heard. You're welcome.
All right, and it appears we don't have any requests for public comment, but I do have committee member Maggie McMillan on now as well.
Great. Oh, and I didn't say Ken Beard is also here with me. I skipped you, Ken. I'm sorry, we had been talking this morning. So Mr. Ken Beard is also here. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And good to see you, Maggie. Welcome.
Good morning.
Can we do a quick mic check for you? Oh, yes. Wonderful. And there she is. Great. Okay. So is there any public, we'll get through agenda item 2 here. Is there any public comment for items not on the agenda?
This is the moderator. Yeah, it appears there are no requests for public comment on WebEx.
Okay, so we will be moving on to the meat of this meeting. Agenda item number 3, review draft regulatory language and application for reduction facility license. I think the best way for us to go through this is I'm going to share my screen. So if I'm able to do that, moderator, I will go ahead and move on to that.
All right, you should be able to click the share button down at the bottom, and then it should let you share your screen.
Aha, there it is. Okay, so it's a big document. It's 10 pages. So I don't think we'll take turns with committee members and public. So please just raise your hands. And we'll kind of just work this as like a work group through these regs. So what you're seeing on the screen now is page 1, Title 16 of the Cemetery and Funeral Act, proposed regulatory language for the licensure and regulation of reduction facilities. So it's important to note that the added text, so the new text that we've incorporated is underlined, as you can see here. If we have omitted any text, you will see little stars like this. Deleted text is strike through. So really what we're going to be looking at is underlining. That's mostly what's in this package. So again here, because the statute is for completely overseeing a new license type, we did have to amend several sections or add a couple sections. So when you see this top word here, it says amend section 2302 of our California Code of Regulations. We added to this reg. So anything up here, A, B, that is all already all there. We did nothing with that. And so our new additions is here. C specifically goes through the health and safety code and defines, or excuse me, not goes through this, defines what processing means as we have processing at the end of this disposition as well. It's very similar to how it reads for cremation. The next one we added is in regards, this is also very similar. Actually, I should say that the development of these regulations will be very similar to the oversight of hydrolysis facilities, very similar to the oversight of crematories. So you are gonna, if you're familiar with our regulations on those two other dispositions, you will see a lot of this is similar. Okay. Okay, so this is in regards to residue, because there is residue left in the chamber and what to do with that. I'm not going to read every section unless you guys wanted me to. Would you recommend it?
No, I don't think you'd read, but I'm just going to suggest maybe explaining why you decided to add the C and D to this, just to give everyone some context.
Yes. So, for any necessary preparation. So for C, after the body has been reduced in the chamber with the natural materials that it's with, that entire soil and reduced remains gets put through what we call a processor. So that will grind up any bones into unrecognizable. So that's really what is important. Also with cremation, that also happens. A lot of the public doesn't realize that happens sometimes after cremation. There are bits of bone in there. With reduction, there is a little bit more bone left over, almost a full skeleton. So that does need to be pulverized to non-recognizable so it can be integrated into the soil. So that is why we needed to define processing specific to reduction, because processing is specific to cremation or hydrolysis. So we had to add in reduction there. Additionally, very similar to cremation, there can be residue left in the cremation chamber. Same with hydrolysis, same with reduction. There can be residue left over, bits of soil, the natural organic material that's in there. So we wanted to be specific of what to do with that residue. So we've defined that there to be similar. I think that kind of took care of those two parts of it. We're moving on to amending section 2310. So this is the regulatory charge for every decedent that is interred or cremated. You do pay the funeral establishment, or the crematory or cemetery is required to pay $11.50 to the Bureau. So you see it's here for hydrolysis. Scrolling down. So here it is to be adding reduction for that. So it has the regulatory charge for the $1,000 application fee, and then it's $8.50 per body. And the reason is because when the Bureau was putting in a fee change back in 2022, and it raised the interment fee of $8.50 to $11.50, this bill was also going through. So this one went in with the $8.50. We'll have to put it up to $11.50 at another date. That the statute didn't allow us to put it up.
Question.
Yes.
I know it's a pretty nominal amount more, but is the justification for the $1,000 fee just because there's more to inspect and more documentation to review? It's just a more complex process?
Yes, yes and no. So the last three new fees that we have received, brand new fees, one was the cemetery manager? Is that the one that's 800? I'm looking at my licensees. Yes, so when the cemetery manager came in several years ago, that was put at 800. Last year, 2-3 years ago, the hydrolysis facility was 900. So just with the cost of doing business and to avoid having to raise it in the future, it was set at 1,000. So it's only $100 more than what hydrolysis was several years ago. So that was that. The 850, like I said, that's statutory. I can't raise that until the statute is changed to 1150 to mirror. So it's going to be a little confusing for our licensees. We will work with you. We will put out information, maybe a little card or a chart to identify these ones are all 1150, and then this one over here is 850. So that's unfortunate, but the Bureau will work on cleaning that up in the future. This letter F is also oh yes, Jolena, please. Oh,
Can you
you're
hear?
Muted.
Great. Okay. So first things first, I actually wanted to start with where you were up above with C and D and the additional language, and just wondering if grammar is going to be checked before this gets enacted, because when you look at D, it says pursuant to 7051.5 of the Health and Safety Code states, it doesn't read well. So I'm just wondering, is there be a grammar cleanup before we see these chaptered? And then also down below where we just were, thank you very much for describing why it's 850 instead of 1150, but it indicates maintenance records for the chamber, assuming that the operation of an NOR facility is going to be with multiple chambers. Are we truly anticipating that we want to see individual maintenance records for every single receptacle for which remains are placed? And if so, is that necessarily a burden on the staff of the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau if we have a reduction facility that has 10 different chambers for which simultaneous reduction is taking place?
Very good question. I very much like that question. I'm all right. I hope you're writing that down. Luckily, this is being recorded. That's a very good question. I think I'm going to need to take that back and really think on that one and see what we can do here, because you are correct. It does say reduction chamber. So that is maintenance. So yes, as it reads right now, it's maintenance records of each chamber. So that is how it reads right now for hydrolysis facilities. And I have not gotten any complaints, but mind you, there's only 4. So, and 3 of them are relatively new, and I don't know how many chambers they have. Maybe they only have 1 hydrolysis chamber, so go ahead.
The existing reduction facilities have upwards of 75 to some have 125 vessel chambers. Yes. So we could be getting up in the very high chambers for reduction. So this is a great question. I think we need to look at it a little differently than hydrolysis. Jolena, thank you. We're going to take that back and kind of massage that out. Yes, thank you. Very good point. Okay, so next, amending section 2311 of our regulations. This is the filing fee. Oh, is this one I just did? Oh, well, this is the initial filing fee of $1,000. So that's that we've already kind of discussed. Okay, now we're moving on to 2326.06. Oh, as you can see, this says add. So everything on this section is going to be underlined. Would it be beneficial if I just switched over to the application instead of going down this one? Okay, if I just go like this, does it change? No.
I have to change my share. Okay, give me just a moment. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to reshare with,
So that's when I asked for any public comment on the first two sections.
so I definitely want to see if there's any public comment on any of the sections we reviewed so far. And I do encourage the public to just kind of raise your hand, and moderator, if you could bring them in at any time there's public comment, just kind of interrupt me. But is there any public comment that I have not addressed or seen?
This is the moderator. If members of the public on WebEx want to make a public comment, you can click that raise hand icon, or if you're an audio only participant, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device. All right, it appears there are no requests for public comment at this time.
Okay, great. Then because we were on the section for the application, that is just a bunch of underlined of what this actually looks like. Let's switch over to the form. I can make it a little bigger so I can fill up. Oh, there we go. The screen. Okay. So at the beginning, we do provide a little bit of instruction telling you where to go, where the statute is for your review, what you must meet, and then the section of where this application is, telling you that it must be signed and the fee and where to send it. This link here, as a requirement, any public use form that collects information, especially personal information, we are required to provide you a notice of collection of personal information. So this is actually a link. Any paper applications will have it attached to it, but the electronic application online will just have a link for you to see. Should we click it? Will it change? Oh, there we go. This is standard. This is written by our attorneys, and it's standard for all of our applications. So if nobody has any questions on the collection of personal information and how we disclose and what we disclose, I'll move on. Go back. Okay. Come on. Okay, so now we're back. You're going to see this is very similar to all the applications you see from the Bureau. First is the applicant's information. So because this is a business, it can be a sole owner, a corporation, a partnership. If any one of those, this is just something that is just I'm putting my licensing chief hat on here. Anybody that's not a partner, corporate officer, or the individual owner that's applying, and it's your assistant, the designated person of your establishment that's going to be filling out this application, then they do need a corporate resolution if they are not one of the corporate officers that says that they are allowed to file this application. Otherwise, this applicant can be one of the corporate officers, the individual owner, or one of the partners.
Question.
Yes, we have a question up here.
Are limited liability companies eligible to operate and own reduction facilities?
LLCs in the cemetery and funeral act, LLCs can only own cemeteries.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then here is the reduction facility information. So it has the name, the FEIN, telephone number, address, city, state, zip. If you have a separate mailing address, all this is very standard. And is this the main office? If there is a main office that has a different address, we also give that opportunity. We inform you here that you need proof of zoning. And then you talk about the type of ownership you are. So it opens up with individual licensed owner, partnership, or corporation. So those are your options. You can always attach another sheet of paper if, for example, your partnership exceeds 4 people. We only have 4 lines here. If you are a corporation, we're letting you know here that you must submit your articles of incorporation and corporate resolution, and then the name of your corporation and the officers. Again, attach another sheet of paper. We also kind of have added this. This is a little new to our applications. Because we're noticing they're not always the same and we have to go around and around. So by doing this, we're hoping that it eliminates some deficiencies and makes applying a little smoother. To remind you, your corporate officers need to match Secretary of State. We will see when we get back to the regulations that, again, a crematory manager will be the designated manager for this reduction facility. In truth, the way that it has been looked at in the past for hydrolysis, and then again here for reduction, is that the crematory manager would be the best person fit to oversee. Honestly, all three types are a way to reduce human remains. So even though this one's called reduction, cremation and alkaline hydrolysis still are a method of reducing human remains. So
would that ever be changed to reduction manager?
Reduction manager, because so I think it's Washington State that revised all their crematory hydrolysis and NOR to the word reduction facilities, because it truly is. We don't have it changed to reduction manager now, because then that seems like it would only fit with reduction facilities, like crematory sounds like it only. So I am definitely interested in a new term someday. But talk about a big package that would change a lot of lines in my act and in my reg. Yes.
When it comes to licensing the crematory manager from the implementation of reduction, is the workshops to become a licensed manager going to now include different verbiage specific to reduction and alkaline hydrolysis in addition to crematory operations?
Yes, so the crematory manager exam now does include hydrolysis. It has been, we did perform occupational analysis and exam development since hydrolysis went into effect. So yes, we will be working on updating the crematory manager to now include the laws in regards to reduction. You'll get your crematory manager license now. No. Because it will be, the exam will be expanded. So that's where this section is here, designating your crematory manager. If they are sharing a crematory manager, all of those rules are still the same. And then just let us know what other facilities the crematory manager may be sharing with. A certification affidavit. This is standard for our applications for each owner, partner, and corporate officer. I'm going to click it now. Oh, well, that's awesome. Okay, well, we will fix that link. I don't know why it's not working right now. I wonder, is this going to change? No, okay. CFD, maybe I can just find it online real quick so I can show everybody. What did I call it? Okay. This is worrisome. Okay, I do have to unshare and share because I can't figure out how to switch. Oh, share this tab instead. There's a little button. There we go. So here's the certification affidavit that does need to be completed along with the application. And this is where we ask you, because it's not a personal license, it's a business license, there may be multiple owners. So each owner will need to fill out a certification affidavit, letting us know who you are, if you've performed your live scan, and then do any of these questions, apply to you, because this may get you to expedite your license or may get you other things. So then there's the question if you have ever had your license denied as suspended, and then attaching an application, and then you're certifying the applicant. This is already on our website and required for other business license types. So nothing was changed on this form for this regulatory package.
Gina, might we be able to fix the bottom of this application so it says certification instead of certification of applicant?
No, we like that word. No.
Okay, no problem. I'll keep it
Yep.
then.
We're going to update that. I think you're my new editor. I think we're going to be sending everything through Jolena before we put anything out in the public. This has been the same since 2021, looks like the last revision date. And that only added this question up here, this question up here. So it must have said certification for 10 years, more? I don't know. Thank you for pointing that out. We have all seen this form 1,000 times and have not caught that. Amazing. That's amazing to me. Okay. Thank you. We took note.
When you come back over to the application, on the area where it says this facility is sharing the crematory manager, should there be an indication that they need to attach the approval to share or a copy of the approved approval to share to this particular document?
We would have that in our system already.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a good question. Let me take that back to my staff. We are changing systems. So, let me see how easy it is for us to find that information. I don't want it to be a delay on our part. So if it's easy to attach, and then we can just kind of move on, but we should have that information in the system already that we can verify who they're sharing with and how far away and all that stuff is. But
Okay.
yes, thank you for bringing that up.
And one more, as you scroll down past the certification affidavit, it gives an indication of the attestation being in an area called application information section, but I was only able to find an applicant information section. So is there a different section that this is alluding to?
The application must be signed by the person designated as the applicant in the applicant information section.
It says
So-
application information section, but up above it's called an applicant information section. So I'm just wondering if that's the section it's referring to.
It's referring to this section right here. So whoever filled in this section needs to sign. Let me read it again. Applicant information. And this says application information. So it should say applicant. At 1 point for the editor again. Yes.
I prepared for this meeting, can you tell?
I can, and I greatly appreciate you. So there's the page number. This is the form number. This form number I will be showing you. It will be reflected in the regs. I guess we better make sure that number's right. That will be reflected in the regs, so it can, we're referencing the correct form. So that's it for the actual form. I'd like to go back to the regs. So now we can kind of go line by line and we'll reflect what we've just seen and maybe a few more things. Does anyone have any additional comments on the form itself?
I'm just curious, what is the zoning requirement? You said there's a certain zoning paper has to accompany it, but can you clarify it so we can understand that more?
Yes, so almost all of our businesses have to be zoned by the city or county for dead bodies. So the city or county does need to know that you will be having dead bodies on your decedents on your property. So that's what the zoning will be.
As a separate zoning, not a certain kind of, I see, certification of zoning.
Right. Just letting you know that's all. Does anyone, any licensee want to add to that on the committee? Yes.
Yeah, I can add in. So like with a hydrolysis facility, you have to work with local water departments. With a crematory, you have to work with the Air Quality Management District. So the CFB can't speak for other county city regulations. They just need to know you've been greenlit through those. So with hydrolysis, I would imagine, don't quote me on this because they did not hire me for my legal prowess nor my editing prowess, but I would imagine it is just deceased bodies. There may be something, where they want to look at odors, but I will say not the CFB's fault, but anytime there is something new regulated, there's a little bit of a complication because the city and county doesn't really know where you fall. So I would suggest if people are looking at this, try and get ahead now with your local ordinances.
Right. Right, yeah. So, and that's why we have just zoning here. If it was a crematory application, I'm glad you brought that up, Maggie. Thank you very much. If it was a crematory application, we'd also be asking you for an air quality permit so that they are aware that you'll be cremating. As far as I know, there's no odor stuff right now that you would have to do. But we did experience, the Bureau did get feedback from the public that it was difficult getting hydrolysis initially into many of the cities. And it's that reason. They just are unfamiliar. They didn't know what to do with the affluent afterwards, and was a little hesitant. So I agree. The more you can start communicating with your local authorities, if you're an interested stakeholder, the better. Sooner the better. Okay. So
I have
anything
one
else
question.
on the
Sorry, is the distance of the shared manager going to be the same as the crematory manager, or is there any conversation about expanding that at all?
They are the same. They're the same throughout. If we were to have discussions on expanding it, we would need to think about it for all the businesses that we allow share, and have to really kind of see what's driving that and what impact what problem is that solving type of discussions. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Anything else? Anybody from the public, moderator, that I may have missed that I cannot see?
This is the moderator for members of the public on WebEx. If you would like to make a public comment, you can click that raise hand icon, or if you're an audio only participant, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device. All right, and it appears there are no requests for public comment on WebEx.
Okay, wonderful. So back to our application section on the regulation side. We're adding section 2326.06, application for reduction of facility license. This is why we reference 2306 on the application up at the top, because this really outlines the requirements better than just looking at, a form with minimal information. So we have it separated out nice and clean. A is in regards to the application. So you must submit an application. With that application is your articles of incorporation, if the applicant's a corporation, or partnership agreement if the applicant's partner, your land use or zoning permit certified by the city or county for the land proposed to be used by the applicant for a reduction facility, and the permit. So this is the permit to operate by the local Department of Public Health. Public Health does not yet have their regulations out. They are diligently working on them, and they have already. The Bureau was active in trying to get out the information when they were putting out their questions for the development of their regs. So I'm hoping everybody got wind of that through us or through our website or through them. And they have a dedicated website and a dedicated person to assist all of us in our questions on their side of this reduction license. So there's one, you need the permit from them, the deed or lease with the right to use the property, approval of the chamber by CDPH, a written contract with it. So this is standard for crematories for those not in the industry. Historically, the consumers will work with the funeral directors. So you go to a funeral home, that's who the consumer contract is with. You're in that contract with the director. That funeral director will work with a crematory. You are by law known what crematory you go to, but it's very rare that a person will go directly to a crematory. Very, very rare. It is allowed, but if someone does do that and they leave their loved one at the crematory, there is a law for crematories and hydrolysis facilities that they need a contract with a licensed cemetery so they can inter that loved one. The same is for reduction facilities. Although it's very rare that someone will work directly with a reduction facility, you still need a funeral director. You need that death certificate and so on. Go ahead, Jolena.
This one is particularly cumbersome, imagining the length of time between 30 and 70 days, depending on the process that's used for natural organic reduction, being linked to the date of death. Is there any possible way we could massage the language so there's additional time constraints? Otherwise, this could prove to be incredibly onerous if there is an NOR facility that's using 70 days as the method for which they're reducing, and then we show that they have to have final disposition of these reduced remains within 90 days of the date of death.
I love where you're coming from because I was saying the same thing. Unfortunately, this is statutory. This was in the bill. I didn't write the bill.
I was going to make the same comment. Linking it to
The Bureau did provide technical assistance on this date, on this number of days, and the word date of death, because coming from where you're coming from, even more, what if the body was at the coroner's office for 30 days?
Mhm.
You've already lost 30 days as a reduction facility owner. So now you only have 60 days.
Can I have a,
Yes,
so,
please.
so that is you must inter or integrate those remains after 90 days past date of death?
No,
Or
that's not, you just have to have a written you just have to have a written contract to have the ability
Sure.
to move the body. And if you are actively working with a family,
Yeah.
then no. And again, these are for people that are not working with the funeral home.
Yeah.
So this is somebody who specifically, so it has left the family member pretty much there. Now, this just states you have to have a written contract so that if you're in possession of somebody after 90 days, you really need to determine what's going on with that body. Are you in communication with that family? You need to start working with that family to get that loved one back to them or integrated into the soil somewhere. The Bureau, when we do our inspections, we make sure you have that written contract. If we're getting complaints from loved ones, it's usually against the funeral director as to, why the process is not moving fast enough. I don't want to say there is nothing I can do here, but this is something that if it becomes a real problem in the industry, it would be something that would be like in a sunset issue to look at amending the statute. And then that could amend the reg. So it'd have to be a statutory change. We'll just be making sure that you have the written contract, and anybody in your possession after that as a reduction facility, after 90 days, the Bureau will start inquiring, what have you done to get this loved one back to their family? But
So
typically it's going
like
to
when you
be,
need to start the process of reaching out to the family. Essentially.
no, I would definitely, you're in communication with the family
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
So if the family's dropped off a body at the reduction facility and gave the money and it's like, we're doing everything ourselves, we dropped them off to you, we'll pick it up, we'll do the death certificates, all that stuff. This is so the 1%. I would recommend as a licensee, you need to be in communication with that family throughout the process.
For sure.
But yeah, if there's been zero communication, you don't even know how to get hold of them, they not come by, then yes, at 90 days, you should really start considering what to do. Maggie, would you like to comment a little bit on this?
I was just going to add in as a practitioner, and again, I don't speak for the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau in any serious way, so all the attorneys can take a deep breath. But as a practitioner, there are times, even in cremation or burial or hydrolysis, where for some reason we're going 90 days past the date of death, whether it's an investigation, family. Generally, what happens, and again, I can't speak for the CFB, is if you have things in writing, how you're communicating with the family that, you started on this day, it generally becomes the exception and not the rule. So I just recommend make sure everything is documented really well. And then ultimately, maybe as a advisory committee, we should recommend looking at this in the sunset, because it probably will become a bigger issue. But it does happen even in the normal run of non-reduction disposition of human remains.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And remember, this is specific to the reduction facility. So
Yeah.
this is not to the funeral director.
Right.
Who's
Yeah, we don't have that
of course, with the
same
family.
regulation.
Yes, you guys do not have this same mandate to, get to go and inter loved ones. Can you imagine? That would be incredibly costly.
I just want to, sorry, just make sure I really understand that. So one, is this saying, this is not putting a time maximum or limit as to how long a facility must hold on to the remains for? It's just,
Correct.
okay, so it's stating that at the 90 days post date of death,
You should have a contract
you
in
should have
place
a contract in
to
place.
be able
Okay,
to inter them if the family is
Sure.
that's here.
gotcha. Okay, which would make sense to get that done at the beginning of the process.
Yes, and you'll be mostly be working with the consumer as a funeral director,
Sure.
so it wouldn't apply.
Gotcha.
It's only for the
Yeah.
reduction facility. Very good. Okay, and so it seems okay, we'll just move on to number 7. Number 7 is it's also required for the reduction facility to have a contract with the conservation area.
Yeah.
So that is an area where you are able to integrate the reduced human remains into the soil of a land conservation area. So
I saw.
and the 90 days
Yeah.
is there again.
So the way it's written, it's an and. You need both a contract with a cemetery and a conservation area. Is there any consideration for one or the other, like making it an or rather than an and for those?
I will check the statute. I
Okay.
don't think the way that it's written right now would allow for an or, but that's a very good question. I think we need to look into that a little bit just to make sure that we're implementing this as one or the other or both. So do they need a written contract with a licensed cemetery and a contract with the conservation area? Or can they do one or the other? Now, I do know that California yeah, so it looks like you would have the choice as the reduction facility of which one to use.
Yeah.
But the way this statute's written, we'll have to make sure that you still need both or can only have one or the other. Because it looks like at the time, if you have, yes, Mr. Kanotes, please. You're muted. There we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying, but you have
No, not at all.
request for public comment, and I think you're just not seeing that on your computer there. 'Cause
Oh,
you're sharing.
yes.
Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, public comment, please, moderator, if you can allow for that.
Sure. We have a request for public comment from Serena Trexler. And Serena, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. Oh, 1 second. Let me request to unmute again, see if that prompt shows up on your end.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, there you are.
Yes, my comment was in regards to number 6 and the date of death. You all did a fabulous job of telling my concerns of the date of death. You did clear that up for me, so I appreciate that. And just wanted to, I am the founder and facility manager of Renew Natural Organic here in Oregon. So I wanted to echo our concerns of the date of death. So I appreciate you hashing it out. Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you for that comment and welcome from Oregon. Okay.
This is the moderator. It appears we have no further requests on WebEx, but I do see a couple of our committee members have their hands raised.
Great, please speak up. Which I don't see the hands, so I can't tell you which one to talk first. Okay, Jolina.
Okay, so with the response that you provided regarding needing both the conservation area contract and the cemetery one, shouldn't the prompt up above before the numbered list be inclusive of all of the following? So it says currently each application shall be accompanied by a copy of the following, but shouldn't it indicate that each of the items are needed? And then down below on number 5, where it has approval of the reduction chamber issued by the State Department of Public Health, should that not read California Department of Public Health with the acronym CDPH, like you mentioned when you were reading through it?
Yes, we did take a note to add California there. I'm sorry to not mention that. Thank you very much. And yeah, it says by a copy of the following. So, I mean, if a copy of all of the following would be helpful, if we believe that would add more clarity, I can bring that back for discussion. It does allude that I need a copy of everything, but if we need clarity there, then I'm all for it.
And if we're looking for,
I find it, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And if we're looking for clarity, right before that particular sentence fragment, there is in quotes what I believe is the name of the application. However, it doesn't match the name of the application on the actual printed application. So I was just wondering if you wanted to align those so that they both say the exact same thing.
So I made a note of that too.
Yes, RF. A reduction facility license application. And we have the word application at the beginning instead of the end. Okay. Yep. We got those. We have taken notes. RF new 123 dash. Okay, so those are right. And then yeah, so our application now says reduction facility license application. So we'll move that. Move it over. Yes.
Is conservation area defined?
In the reg, sorry, in the legislation, it's defined as any area that is preserved for nature and has development restrictions. So in my mind, a public park would be considered a conservation area. Seems pretty loosely defined, but
how would that be defined?
Yeah, you'd have to. So a public park would not be an allowable place to scatter human remains, though.
Okay.
So in California, where it's a little bit different in the state. So in California, the appropriate or the allowable places to spread human remains, whether you're spreading, integrating, is controlled by the local authority.
yeah.
So the state has no authority of where people can be spread. That's all under local authority. So that conservation area, one would have to be allowed for human remains to be integrated there. And then whoever oversees that conservation area is where you would need to start working with that contract. I'm not sure. I know Oregon's on the line with a public person to see how that's kind of working in Oregon and Washington. But I think Washington, you're allowed to scatter a lot more places than California. Yeah, it's less restricted.
And I think it's a good question, though. Is it something that we want to define in the regs what a conservation area is? So, correction.
Yeah, because I feel like conservation areas are, yeah, let's look into that and who determines what are conservation areas, because we do not, obviously. And we'll have to look again, but that's all statute driven as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can build underneath that to add a little clarity.
If I can read from 7054.5, it says conservation area means an area of land that is protected and cannot be built on, that is only used for the conservation of nature.
So,
And with
but
those
I guess
energy,
your point is that, that's pretty broad.
Very broad.
So
Yeah.
it might be something that we want to.
Yes, to at least direct them to, like, this needs to be, a place allowable per local authority rules or.
like the challenge being that even though these laws and amendments would be implemented, would the receiving end of the entity be familiar enough to be comfortable drafting a contract, not knowing such a new topic of what is and isn't allowable? So they'll probably err on the side of no, it's not, versus, oh yes, I'm willing to enter into an agreement at the state, local, or even private level.
Mhm.
So I think defining would be important.
Very good. Okay,
I have another operational question,
Mm.
Gina.
yes.
Sorry. So, number 5, like Jolena was talking about with the reduction chamber, I know we're going to clarify if that's each pod or the whole unit itself, but that jogged my memory, and we may get to it if we haven't already, so you can parking lot my question, but will it be similar to a crematory where like each chamber would be labeled, and then is the Department of Public Health or as a CFB deciding chambers? I think we've parking lotted that to figure it out. Are there like log requirements similar to a crematory? Is that all going to be the same?
Yeah, so each chamber will be approved through CDPH from what I understand. So I can't speak too much about their regulations. You know, they're not out yet. But yes, each individual chamber will need to be approved by CDPH for us. So when we inspect, we'll know which chambers have approval. So they will need to be
And for
numbered
my
of some
just
sort.
clarification, do we think chamber is the whole? Because I remember the gentleman saying like some have 75 to 100 sort of individual pod areas that like I would call each individual pod area a chamber just coming from crematories, or do we think chamber is the whole machinery?
No, each vessel. I think what we're using for this one is vessel, hydrolysis is chamber, cremation is retort. I got to get my language correct. But yes, so each vessel would need to be approved and numbered.
Okay, great. And then again, from a practitioner side, I really like the idea of you guys helping define conservation area. I know some of the sticky parts in hydrolysis came from not the CFB, but I appreciate that you guys are going to put the work in to help not speak for other organizations, but put go, because that will really help. That'll go a long way.
Yeah, I agree. We will see what we can do there to add a little clarity for our licensees. Okay. Yeah, so as it's written right now, 6 and 7 are both required, but we'll look into that. And okay, so 1 through 7 here went with this little letter A as part of the application. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now we're going to little b. So it's a whole separate, it's not part of it's a requirement, but not, as part of the application. So a signed and verified statement by the individual, if the applicant is an individual, or by the chief executive officer and one of the directors, if the corporation is an applicant, or partners, each statement shall set forth. So the owners need to, yes, Jolena.
Okay, so now this is contradictory. So it says by both partners if there are 2 partners, and then the next statement says a majority of partners if there are 2 or more partners. So shouldn't that just be if there are more than 2 partners?
Say that again, because I understand it, but I wrote it. So tell me say that one more time.
So the first part says it needs to be signed by both partners if the partnership has 2 partners. But the second clause says majority of partners if the partnership has 2 or more. So it's in conflict.
Oh, 2 or more.
Yeah. So should it be more than 2?
It needs to say more. It needs to say more than 2. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. More than 2. It goes right there. Got it.
Signed and verified statement. So obviously signed under penalty of perjury. When it says verified, does that mean witnessed by 2 witnesses, a notary public? What's the verified? Otherwise, it'd just be signed, I imagine.
No, I was reading to the bottom to see if we spoke to that. Any other precedent of what they're like? Of what verify? I know. I was wondering if we have this in another license type, and what our licensing analysts would require.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Be a notary or.
Yeah, I know we don't require things to be notarized, so it would be like a witness. Let me make sure. Let me look back into the statute, see what the statute says here. And if it doesn't need verified in the statute, then we will add language to define what verified means. Absolutely. Good catch. Okay. So this is what the statement shall set forth. I don't know if you want me to read them all, but detailed financial statement, statement of proposed plan of operation, including the services that are going to be done, complete and accurate copy of the standard agreement the applicant proposes to use for the funding of prearranged reductions, if you're even offering that as a reduction facility. It seems more of a funeral thing, funeral director responsibility. Plans and specifications of the reductions facilities building, which must be sufficient to allow the Bureau to determine, among other things, amount of storage and relative placement of structures and equipment. This is very similar to our other business licenses for reducing human remains.
And you want that little c to be separate like that?
Yeah, I thought so, only because a signed statement and then little c is the plans. Okay. We're moving on. Is there, just because I don't see hands, moderator, is anyone in the public interested in making a comment that I may have missed on that section?
This is the moderator for members of the public on WebEx. If you would like to make a comment on this item, you can click the raise hand icon, or if you're an audio only participant, you can raise your hand by pressing *3 on your device. All right, it appears there are no requests for public comment at this time.
Okay. We're moving on to amending section 2326.1, which is titled managers. All of this is speaking to the cemetery. We're going down. There is our new section that has been added at the bottom of managers. So very standard language, it operates under the supervision of a crematory manager. You must, designate or report a change of a crematory manager at any time. This is all very similar to it's almost identical to our previous language.
Gina, on this one, where it says additional crematory managers who have been qualified and certified by the Bureau, are crematory managers certified by the Bureau or licensed?
Who have been qualified and certified by the Bureau. And is that what we say up here? Yeah, qualified and certified right here. So that is your certification from the Bureau, is the license. But you're right, does not mean we can't update our language to reflect, more plain language for the times. So let me bring that back and we'll discuss it because if I change it one place, I don't know if we have to go back and change it everywhere, and then that will add questions as to why I'm changing things that are not specific to the statutory change. So let me see that. It still is the license. I mean, it still reads as fine, but updating and making it more understandable is something I would like to just at least look at. Okay, moving on to, we have added a new section, 2329.2, abandonment of application. This is very standard. Abandonment of applications just means somebody that has applied, they have 1 year from the date of notification of the Bureau, meaning not 1 year from the date we received it. It's 1 year from the date that we've said, hey, there's a deficiency. You need to complete this in order to get the license. So it's a year from that letter is when the application will then be deemed abandoned, and the person will have to reapply all new documents, including new money, new form, etc. Okay, so that's that section, very standard.
But don't fill out your license until you have your air quality permit.
Sometimes, because sometimes local authorities, depending on the city or county, if they're real small, they take a long time. So, okay, so moving to our next new section, adding section 2333.1, reduction facility sanitation. So so this license is a little bit different than the industry has seen in the past. Typically, families are not going into where the retorts are. Families are not going into where the hydrolysis chamber is. Those are not public areas. The public areas are in the funeral home, in the front rooms, and so on. However, what we have found that consumers want is consumers want to go sit with their vessel for however many days. Every day, a couple of times, they may have a little family get together while the body is in the vessel. So what we're seeing is the public now coming into a reduction facility. So it's usually a two-parter. It's a funeral home and reduction facility license in one building, which is very common with crematories and funeral homes. That is something we've seen again and again. But this is a little bit different because you're walking into a huge building. The front may be the funeral home looking area, and then you can walk to the back, and then that's where you see the 100 vessels or 5 vessels, 1 vessel. And then that's where the family can have a little lay-in service for their loved one, and then they can go and visit. So because of that, we need to make sure, on the funeral home side, there's a lot of laws about public safety, keeping the prep room clean, those kinds of things. We don't necessarily have that on the crematory and hydrolysis side because the public doesn't go in there. So this is really to ensure the health and safety and welfare of the consumers, your clients, for those in the industry that are coming into your facility. So it's a little bit different. So that's why we have this new area. So all areas of the reduction facility which are open to public use or occupancy shall be kept and maintained in a clean and orderly condition. That is already in the law for other licenses, but because clean and orderly has never really been defined. But I know now with the way laws and regs are looked at, we need to define that. So that's why we have numbers 1, 2, and 3 is to define what clean and orderly is. Yes.
Does this mean that we would need a placard for whenever someone enters said room, just like a preparation room when there's something actively happening? We don't want a family member to come into this room and see someone actively being removed from a chamber. So should there be like public and private placards, or how are we going to do that?
We did not require signs. That's great because we do have sign requirements in our act. So I do like that idea. What I have seen in the reduction facilities so far is the public use area. That's not necessarily where they will be removing the body or putting somebody in. They may have the body already laid in, and you could kind of and help cover them with their natural materials and such. But there is a back area. So there's the funeral home, the reduction facility, and then the back. That's where the processing happens. So yeah, that should remain private. But I do like the idea of maybe having some signs. That this area is private. This area is a public use area.
To make sure that the family that's visiting the loved one at the chamber, however long it may be, is not exposed to that aspect of it without having aware notice.
True, because we really shouldn't be exposing any loved ones because they don't go in with covering. So we should not be exposing other people's loved ones to consumers who are sitting there mourning in front of their vessel. So yeah, that's a very good point. Maybe some signage or some clarity of privacy and respect or something.
I just want to express our gratitude for that section, and it's really a testament to the time and diligence that you all have spent writing these regs and the work going into it. So we really appreciate that.
That's really nice. I'm very appreciative of that feedback. this is new for the industry. These types of
Yeah,
wants of a consumer
yeah.
is new. And we really need to build a structure that will allow it,
Mhm.
but also keep them safe and our loved ones respected. So, yeah, so thank you for that. It was, I just, the fact, the governor approved me to go to the reduction conference last year and tour facilities with the Washington State Inspector. That really opened up my eyes. It's very difficult bringing something in that you have never seen and has never been done in the state and so on. So I'm very grateful to have been able to do that. And I do agree, it's opened our eyes to things like this, to knowing that the public will be back there. We need to make sure the licensee is protected and the consumer is protected. So, okay, any other comments? Yes, Jolena.
Okay, so I want to echo the sentiments. I so appreciate the work that has been done on drafting the proposed language here, and I love when terms are defined. Is it possible to add quotes around clean and orderly so that we understand that we are defining this particular clause, as well as the term sanitary? And normally, if you're going to be defining these terms, they've been used immediately preceding or within the general area, but I don't see the word sanitary used outside of just number 2. Now, the title of this section is Reduction Facility Sanitation, so I'm sure that we're trying to make the link there, but there are other areas of our regs that do indeed say clean and orderly and clean and sanitary. So I was just wondering, are we trying to allude to the definition of clean and sanitary that's used somewhere else? Or are we trying to use sanitary in relation to sanitation up above?
So, couple of comments I'm going to address with that. The clean and orderly in everywhere else is not being defined. So this clean and orderly is going to only be specific to reduction facility. If we want to do cleanup where we define clean and orderly in, for prep rooms and other places where we have it in the law, then that would have to be a separate package, as that doesn't point back to this statute. But I like that because I agree. It's difficult for not just licensees, but the Bureau to make those interpretations and draw that line, right? So, and I do agree. I mean, I don't see any problem with saying occupancy shall be kept and maintained in a sanitary, clean, and orderly condition. I believe if that provides more clarity and really points out, the 3 listed below, I don't see any issues with that, but we'll bring it back and discuss. I like that idea. Thank you.
And would it be okay to add?
Did I answer it fully? I'm sorry.
Can we add quotes around clean and orderly and quotes around sanitary so we understand that we're defining these terms?
Well, we have this as defined below. I'm not sure how
No,
long quotes
under
are.
number 1, if it said clean and orderly in quotes, so that we understand we're defining the term clean and orderly, and then quotes around the word sanitary in number 2, so we understand we're defining the term sanitary.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that. I'm not sure. So that's kind of like a formatting thing. Office of Administrative Law may have things on quotes and things, but yeah, I think, and I don't know how my definitions are in 7,000. Are they all quoted over there? That's why. Yeah. Okay. So our old definitions are all quoted. Okay. Okay. We'll put it on the list.
What are the caution indicators in number 3?
What marked with, oh, there's signage right there. Caution indicators at the sign. So maybe we should explain. So I don't know if you've been to a reduction facility, but there is some pretty big machinery that goes along. So the vessel itself, it's a pretty big vessel. And so this needs to be moved around with a forklift. Thank you for the word. This needs to be moved around with a forklift. So you're going to be seeing, there's going to be forklifts there. There's also There's also a requirement during this process to turn the body. There's several different ways that people are already doing that. Some are turned in their vessel that they're in and they don't have to be removed. Some are removed and put in this machine with like arms like this that hold it and very slowly turn it. So those types of machines are new to this industry. They're new to consumers. And they're back there. They're back there in the reduction area. So you may be visiting your loved one and this vessel over here, there's going to be somebody taken out and taken to this machine over there. So I just saw a lot of safety issues there. So bringing up the signage, that's why we have caution indicators, something bright orange that says, you know, be careful. There's this machine here that you need to go around. I think we could probably better
we can
expand on that.
Expectation of what a caution indicator is or
Yeah.
something.
Standardized, I would think, like, especially since we're in the presence of a grieving family and a forklift. So I think that there should be something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't imagine it's not like a construction site. So I mean, it's not constantly going, but in the event they're back there and something's getting moved around or something needs to be moved. Just doesn't happen often. Yes, Maggie.
I was just going to say, from a practitioner standpoint, it feels really similar to like having a family witness the closing of a grave, right? You're bringing out a ton of heavy equipment. So it's a conversation.
Yes.
Potentially. I like that it's actually a little more vague, and then each facility can have their own procedures and protocols. But even, you know, a crematory is a big industrial piece of equipment that could be dangerous if it's not respected and operated properly. So I think facilities will be able to figure out how they're mixing their public and private space. You know, if we're doing a non-embalming small family viewing, we're kind of mixing public and private spaces. So my suggestion is just be careful with how specific you get there, because it'll depend on how the chamber pods work.
Right. Good. Thank you for that comment. I agree. Okay. Any other comments or questions on this area?
This is the moderator. We do have a request from someone on WebEx.
Great.
Okay, Serena Trexler, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone again. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello there, Serena again. I had a question on whether or not a NOR facility also has to be a funeral establishment to have families back in those areas. Here in Oregon, we are blessed that we can have witness tuck-ins. We aren't, Renew Natural Organic Reduction is not a funeral home. We are only an alternative disposition facility. So I'd like just clarification on that. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So very similar to crematories here in California, consumers can work directly with a reduction facility. So they provide their own transportation, they are getting their own death certificates and so on. It's very rare, but they can. And so that is why we have this in the reduction facility laws, because yes, those reduction facilities will have families there. Now, I would just caution reduction facilities regularly working with consumers. Once they cross that line of providing funeral service care, then that license will, you'll definitely need that funeral director license and that funeral establishment license. Maggie, go ahead. Do you have a comment on that?
I was just going to say, it's also sort of a language barrier. So we do have in California a lot of kind of alternative, they wouldn't want to call themselves funeral homes, but in California, under the regulations, they operate as a funeral home. It doesn't have the same feel as an old school funeral home. There's a lot of stuff that's different, but regulatorily speaking, it is a funeral home because they're dealing with members of the public. So it might just be, and Serena, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it might just be a language complication where you're going, wait, we do all this in Oregon. Theoretically, you can do all of that you may want to get an establishment license, because if you're working with members of the public, the regulations change pretty significantly, and it can just offer more protection for the consumers and for the operators. And really, I think the goal of these things are, as the CFB is regulating this new thing that we've not yet done in California, the goal is at the end of the day to keep consumers safe and give them access to a disposition that they want. So there's going to be some, what's the right word? There are going to be some pressure points that are not necessarily thought of. That one in particular, I think there are ways to coordinate that in a way that works for you and for your funeral establishment, if that helps at all.
Okay, thank you. I hope we answered that. Okay. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to make additional comment. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next section. Okay. I didn't say this at the beginning. I know we're already halfway through, but this little note right here and these little references cited and so on, this helps you know where I'm pointing back to the statute or to the bill. The bill had many statutes that it included and amended. So this tells you which ones gave us authority for this regulation. So I'm sorry I didn't mention that at the beginning.
That was very helpful while I was reading that.
While you're reading it?
Yeah.
Good. Because then you can look back to the statute and go, oh, that's why she said it that way. Okay, so next we have a whole new section again. We're going to be adding 2339.2. This kind of goes into the question that we just had. This is the same as crematories. So in the event a consumer is walking up to a reduction facility and saying, we're doing home death care and we want you to reduce our family member, this is the requirements for that contract with the reduction facility. Now, once you get into, this kind of, it's the same, but once you do permits and transportation, that's kind of leading into.
I had a few questions, especially on this topic. A lot of the things that are listed here are what the funeral director does. And I know we mentioned funeral director as funeral service. Nothing within the funeral director license necessarily says funeral, service, memorial service. It is the act of preparing a body, transportation of a body, filing death certificates. That pretty much covers a lot of what's on this necessary list here. So I'm saying an application as a reduced facility, it could be anyone doing the responsibilities and duties of a funeral director. That's a new topic for me.
Great.
A lot of this is the act of a funeral director. And it's not like a crematory. If you walk up to a crematory as a family, maybe 1% would do a direct business. But this is the act of the full-time business. This isn't an exception. This is the act of the business. I feel like this crosses over a lot of what a funeral director does, and the requirements of the applicant as a reduction facility probably should be more so looked into than just an applicant versus a requirement educationally licensed, held to a standard. That's just my 2 cents. Sorry.
No, I'm looking at this now too, and I know that this is how it already is for crematory and hydrolysis, but I think this needs to be looked at. Absolutely, because 2339 of the regulations points back to 7639.10 and 7712.6 of the code, and has this exact wording for crematory and hydrolysis.
I was just wondering if that language still applies to crematories as preparing a body, charging for permits, charges for transportation, a lot of the moving aspects that aren't usually associated with crematory operation. We're now kind of entering funeral director territory, and I don't believe it's crossing over, is it? Or
yeah, isn't that funny? Because this was, we just amended this when the hydrolysis went in, and that was not brought up.
Alkaline hydrolysis, those reduction chambers, I don't know really, but their scope doesn't usually involve what's listed here. what's listed here sides more with funeral establishments and funeral directors rather than anything associated with crematories as it's currently written. So I'm just hoping that as the consumers look at this, they're approaching a facility that has an approved licensed personnel. I'm not going to use the term funeral director because this is a whole new concept, maybe a licensed, competent individual registered by the state, held to the standard that we expect funeral directors to be held to, in addition to what a reduction facility would. And I think that would build trust with the population, really.
Yeah, so I
For
agree.
clarification, are we saying that this is also the same language that exists for cremation and for hydrolysis?
So this is 2339.2.
Yeah,
2339
okay,
is for cremation and hydrolysis,
okay,
and it pretty much mirrors this.
mirror, okay.
And when we put hydrolysis through, just, cremation was obviously done a long time ago. And when we added hydrolysis regs to this topic didn't come up, but now seeing it now, and with the experience that I've had at the Bureau the past 6 years, I think this needs to be looked at.
I just foresee this being a little bit of a concern once it's implemented, not just a owner of a facility, but actually someone that's knowledgeable and held to that knowledge. That's all, just like funeral directors.
Yeah, so 7615 of the business and profession, is it 15 or 16? 15, 7615 of the business and professions code reads, a funeral director is someone who prepares for the transportation, burial, disposal, or directing and supervising the transportation, burial, disposal of human remains. So that's, that's exactly what we're,
I'd
that's
say
exactly what.
an alarming amount crosses over that should be looked into, just from my humble opinion, honestly.
I would just ask that anything that is implemented, it should be the same across the board.
Exactly, and held to the same high standard as what,
Yeah, so if it's being changed for reduction, for natural organic reduction, I would hope that it's also changed for cremation and hydrolysis.
Yeah, and that will have to be done in a separate package if that is the case. But yeah, I think we need to look at that in comparison with 7615, make sure since it's allowed. And the only reason I'm really hesitant here is because cremation and hydrolysis is not reduction. To the consumer treats this process so different.
Yeah.
Cremation and hydrolysis is a few hours. That's done. I'm only dealing, but this one, I have a feeling is going to be treated a little different by consumers. Especially because they're in the facility, the actual production facility. So we're going to take this one back and look at this a little bit more.
I remember that, situation that was happening recently when it comes to the defining of what a funeral director is. And that's an important topic to bring up because we understood after the aftermath of it all of what a funeral director actually is. I think clarification, at least for the Bureau's sake, would be very beneficial at the early start rather than what we just walked out of recently and finding out, oh, we didn't understand this from the beginning. Why don't we understand it from the beginning here rather than a $500,000 lawsuit? So.
Right. Okay, yeah, this, so that's going to, so this contract, all of this is mirrored to the cremation and hydrolysis side.
Question, for F, estimate of,
Here we go.
it says volume, thought it said amount, never mind.
Okay.
You specify volume and not weight, so,
Oh, okay,
yeah, I was gonna ask if that was necessary, but.
okay. So one thing about reduction, one question I have gotten just in my tours in Washington and dealing with other stakeholders is in regards to the splitting of remains. So that falls the same across all three, cremation, hydrolysis, or reduction. They do need a disposition permit for the location of where the remains are going to be. If you're giving all the remains to you, I'm splitting them, but they're all going to you because it's your family in your house or whatever, that's just, it's all the same disposition permit. But if it's going everywhere to different locations, then yes, you'll need separate disposition permits. So it'll be the same because they are considered human remains, the entire 3 cubic feet.
Cubic yard, yeah. 3
Cubic yard?
feet,
Okay, so, okay, same thing, cubic yard. If even though it's a lot more, we still are following the same, it's still considered human remains. And we're still going to have the same requirements. They are considered human remains, although it says the remains turn into soil. It is still reduced human remains is the title of the, it is the defined term is reduced human remains. So we say it all over, reduction human remains. We say it all over the act and all over our regs. What I'm trying to say is that it's not compost. It's not legally compost. Yes, Jolene.
Should it say reduced human remains instead of reduction human remains? And then
person who custody of their remains may choose to receive part of the reduction human remains. Yes, that should say reduced.
okay, and then also when they decide that they want to receive part, does the balance only have to be integrated into the soil in a conservation area to the exclusion of cemeteries?
They may choose to receive none of it, and they can, I'm sorry, say that. So cemeteries is not, so when reduction was brought up and discussed, during the statute and so on, burying the reduced human remains was not really considered or discussed or thought of as pretty much an option. One, because it would take up a lot of room in a cemetery to bury them together. So the point and the purpose of the reduction is to be able to integrate it, into the soil.
I've actually spoken to people who have expressed the desire to have the entirety of their composted, reduced human remains buried in a plot because they still want to have that tradition. They bought a plot, they want to be next to their husband, brother, family member, whatever. I think that would actually be a very great option for consumers.
And they can. There's nothing that states, because 3 just says may, so the person may choose to have some and the rest be integrated. If they want to have some and the rest be interred, then that would be on them to get that cemetery contract. You have the contract, or the reduction facility has that contract with that conservation. So I want these permits, and if the reduction facility could use that contract and disperse the rest into the conservation area.
Can reduced remains be scattered and integrated into the topsoil in a cemetery like it would be in a conservation area?
Yes, if the cemetery offers that option, absolutely. Cemeteries have scattering gardens. I can say that cemeteries typically have too much dirt.
I've heard that.
So unless we're talking about a cemetery with, they have a mountain behind it and that's where they're going to be putting everybody. But it will be interesting to see what cemeteries do to be able to accept these. It'll be interesting to see how they can do that. Okay, so this is just telling you that if the person does choose to have the remains into the land conservation area, you do have to tell them where the conservation area is. We have a lot of those same requirements, like you have to tell the family what crematory you're using in their location, where your storage is. So this is just another way to keep your consumer informed. Okay, so we're still under that same section. I was going to say, okay. So this is again allowing a pre-arrangement of reduction, which is the same as mirrors from cremation and hydrolysis. And like I said, I think we need to maybe look over this again, because if it's, this is allowing pre-need. Does anybody have any comments on that? No, no comments on allowing them to take pre-needs. Okay. We're moving into section 2370. Oh,
I
yes.
apologize. This is the moderator. We do have a request for public comment.
Thank you.
All right. And Serena Trexler, once again, I'm going to click that request to unmute button. Please click the unmute me button when a prompt appears on your device.
Hello again, Serena here. I am wondering, so in Oregon, we have a death care consultant license, which is similar to a funeral director's license, but the main difference, it goes over people who are not technically funeral directors, who did not go to school for funeral directing or to be a mortician. They can arrange and do pre-arrangements. So just a thought for you all to maybe look into that, and that might be able to help you navigate this sticky situation here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that comment. I appreciate that. We will look at that. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're moving to amending section 2370, where again, we're just adding reduction of the options that are already there. So this is again still talking about, you know, pre-needs for these one-offs of people that go, oh, is that, and then that's it? Yes. And that is the end of that. So we just went through the draft regs. I think we got some amazing comments, and we can go back to the drawing board and review all of those and see where we're at on some of these little bigger issues. Are there any comments, whether we go back to the form, whether we go back to the top? Are there any comments from yes, from our members?
In the reduction facilities, you said each pod, I think the language right, is numbered, correct? And that numbering is like with a licensing numbering?
Yeah, it's an approval number. So the license is what we give, and that's just one number. But they will have kind of like an identification system of each vessel and ensuring that those vessels have been approved by CDPH.
Is there any requirement or need for requirement for transparency of accountability of the human that's in that pod? So, I mean, like in the contract, do they have to name the pod number, or, I mean, because it seems like you could lose track of that. If it, and I hope, clearly there's some professionalism in that, but to identify which humans in which pod, and that there's one human in a pod, it's the assumption. So
that is a great point. So in reduction and in hydrolysis, they all have to be labeled, and there is a whole labeling system. So I will converse with CDPH also to ensure that one of us has that in there. That is common practice. It's on the vessel. It has the whole who the person is, when they went in, any sort of testing or measuring that they've done is all outside posted on all the vessels I have seen. That is a requirement for the other two, but I did not see that today. So I don't know if I missed it, or if it's being taken care of on the CDPH. So I will. Yeah, and they approve each vessel that has to be labeled, but I'm wondering if that is going to include the decedent's name. So if it doesn't, then that would be something I can include.
For our crematory records, I believe it might be for the air pollution board, but we have to indicate what chamber the person is put in on record with the name.
Yeah.
Maybe a similar thing for pod number 42 of 70,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
That would be extremely.
That is a current
Yeah.
CFB
Or would it be
requirement.
required? Yeah.
That is his current CFB requirement, right? For the
On the law.
crematories, right?
Yep, you have to put, if Maggie McMillan went into chamber A, that has to be on my log that's inspected by my CFB inspector. I would imagine if we're translating crematory law to pod law, there is some sort of log that would need to be had, and Maggie McMillan would need to be in number 1 or letter A or whatever that is. Even though the timeline's spread out, you need to have, I'm guessing, I'm not speaking for the CFB, some sort of identifying way to know when she went in, whatever the key times it was open, and then when she came out in a log that's inspected.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we will look into that. That's a very good comment. Thank you. I need to make sure that that's taken care of and clear to our licensees. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Is there any public comments? Oh, Jasmine,
Maybe-
I see. Yeah.
Maybe I missed it, but should there be a minimum volume to trigger a permit requirement, like in cremation?
A minimum volume to trigger a permit. So what is, oh, I wish I knew my laws like that and I could just pull that law up really quick.
Is it 1 cubic centimeter or for cremation?
GR.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
That's
Yeah, I don't know if we can even get 1 cubic centimeter of reduced remains, to be honest.
Right.
Okay, let's put that on the list to see if there's a minimum amount for a permit. That's a good point.
This is remains left in the vessel that's.
No, this is if a family member would like to split remains and maybe get a necklace or something.
Okay.
If it's smaller than a certain amount, then you don't need another disposition.
Okay, thank you.
It
Yeah,
saves you
makes sense.
from getting additional disposition permits. But
Yeah.
let me look into how that law is currently written and see if that can make sense or translate into this one. Typically, what I've seen so far is the smallest they've been giving away is like little. Oh, you probably can't see my hands in this screen, but making a circle with your hand and that's about as small little baggies that I saw passed out.
Compost.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Reduced remains. I saw that from somebody up there that they give those. Okay. Anything else?
Are you in communication with many other states or just from the one conference you went to?
Just from the one conference I went to, but Washington has 3 or 4 operators. I toured 3 of the facilities and I've been in pretty close contact with the inspector up there to see how it's been going, and they've kind of been up and running for years now. So they've been a great and helpful resource, very much. There were other states. Some are not as far as we are. Some are, just getting in the legislation, and there's really not that many total. Do you know how many total?
There are 5 operating facilities, and then there's one kind of like, I wouldn't call Pearland Forest and NOR facility because they're a memorial
Do
forest.
you know how many states are doing it?
13 is legal, but there are facilities in 3 states at the moment.
Okay, so it is a little bit of a big lift to get one going. So there is very limited information out there at the moment, and lots of studies are being done internationally, to get more science behind it, and so we're kind of just watching that as well. Okay, anyone else?
I have one more
yes,
comment
Maggie.
about the 2339 quagmire that we find ourselves in.
Mhm.
As I read it, it's just talking about the contract from the crematory. So if I'm a crematory and I'm charging a family for something, I have to be able to explain that in a contract. I think statutorily, the CFB does have really clear distinctions between what a crematory can do with the public and what a funeral home can do with the public. So I think as you dig into it, you'll probably find that that is clearer in the law. This is just talking about the actual contractual piece of what a crematory or reduction facility can charge the family directly. Obviously, again, not an attorney, just a practitioner, but I think in the statutory law, they're more separated than they appear to be here as they're talking about contracts.
Very good. Okay, thank you for that. We'll do a little additional research to the statute that it points back to. Yes. Okay, anyone else? Is there, moderators, any other public comment that I may not see?
This is the moderator. There's currently no request for public comment at this time. Oh, I apologize.
Okay, well, I think,
I apologize. We do have a request from Douglas Goodread. And Douglas, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone. Please click the prompt when it appears on your screen. Right, this is the moderator. Let me see if I can try to request again.
oh no.
And Douglas, if you are currently speaking, your microphone is muted. I'm going to try to request to unmute your microphone one more time. All right.
Is there a way he can type into the comments box or
Let
something?
me enable the chat temporarily if he wants to provide a comment that way. In the meantime, I do also have a request from Serena Trexler. And Serena, I'm going to request to unmute your microphone.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your attention to detail and how much care you have put into this. I am very excited for the future of natural organic reduction in California, and you all are off to a very, very good start. So bravo to you and your team, and thank you again for having me here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Your expertise in Oregon is appreciated, and it is noticed by your comments. And so I greatly appreciate the comments. I appreciate you being here in person, and just the discussion of my members has been great on this package. You know, this was a big lift. I want to give appreciation to Almer over here, who is our new ledge reg analyst that walked into some big shoes from Carolina Salmons. And he has been doing a great job. So, you know, we're happy that we're here already, and we want to continue this momentum and push it forward. Moderator, did we get any comment from the other gentleman that was trying to make a comment? Anything typed in or anything?
This is the moderator. Unfortunately, not yet. It looks like he raised his hand again. I'm going to see if I can try to unmute one more time.
Okay.
And then, Douglas, if there should be a prompt that's showing up on your screen when I request to unmute that says unmute me, you'll want to click that. If that's not working, I did open up the chat for you if you want to type your comment or question.
You are more than welcome to contact me directly. If we can't get your comment here today, I do apologize, but I still would like to hear the comments. So if you can email cfb@dca.ca.gov, gina.sanchez@dca.ca.gov, or give us a call, 916-574-7880, I believe, yes. But we would still very much appreciate your comment, even though we couldn't get it today in the meeting. Just trying to drag it out a couple more minutes, see if we can get it. Okay. Okay, well, it is 11:45. I appreciate everybody's time and I look forward to bringing this back and getting working on it. Getting working on the wonderful comments. I just greatly appreciate everybody's time. So I am adjourning the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.